All right, so switching gears from the budget, because I do want to talk about Donald Trump before we end. And, you know, just by our mere mention of Donald Trump, we've got live chat people online right now. Ender Third wrote Palin Trump 2012. This is a good one. A ticket you can take a bath with. And then here's another one. Essentially, I can't find it, but they said Palin is bad. No, not that one. Talking about Palin Trump, a ticket that will ensure an Obama second term. That was written by BC.
Oh, God, yes.
All right, Donald Trump, can he, I mean, is he serious? I mean, can he be taken seriously? And do you think he really intends on running? Or is he just doing this to promote his NBC show, The Apprentice?
I gotta believe that at least right now, he probably believes he can run for president. That's him.
I'm sure he does, because he is very egotistical. But do you believe that
guy
he's just
is the greatest manipulator of public perception via the press, maybe in my lifetime? And he will stay in front of cameras for as long as he possibly can, whether he intends to run or not. But I think he actually believes that he can win the presidency.
I believe that he believes that he can run. I don't believe that he actually is going to run.
Yeah, I don't either.
This is a man who lives in the moment. I don't think he really has any long-term plan to run. His getting on television, getting on radio, but mainly television, getting in the print is like oxygen to him, and he needs it, and he thrives on it, and that's really what he is. I mean, look at his personal life. He's a really kind of a cheap guy. And everything about him is the huckster. He's not the best of New York. He's built the ugliest buildings we've got in New York, and he's been talking about that skating rink which he financed for I don't know how long. May I tell a little story about Donald Trump?
Yes, please
do. Some years ago, I went in to do a profile on Donald Trump, and I spent about an hour with him in the Trump Tower, and I was completely open about him, and I wanted to do what is a profile for a newspaper. And he talked the entire hour about, not just about himself, but about the press, what the press has done to me. He's a victim of the press. And at that point in time, his finances were again a little shaky. He hadn't been able to outsmart as many Japanese bankers as he usually had.
Right.
And he was crying for publicity. So I went back and I wrote a story basically that, you know, what he said, and then talked to some people who were not big pals of Donald Trump, which is what a journalist does.
Of course, you get both sides of the story. He doesn't want you to get both sides.
His top, attack dog, a woman, I think her name is Norma. She's still around, apparently.
Yeah, oh no, she's the gatekeeper.
Yeah,
yes, she is. I remember her.
Calls me the next day to tell me how disappointed Mr. Trump was. And I said, well, you know, so was I. I came in there to do a great story, and all he did was whine, which, of course, totally flummoxed her. But that's the whole key to Trump. He wants to look good, and he wants to be out there. And, you know, it's part of the if the Republicans in any way embrace him, it's part of their suicide mission for 2014, right? That's far away. I mean, they've got to get their act together. This is not the way to go. Sarah Palin was not the way to go. They've got to get a candidate that they can count on Obama again.
I know, but you know something that was interesting, because we talked about this before, that Brooks piece in the New York Times. There was a little bit of an extreme piece, I thought, but he does capture how Trump captures some essence of the American pop culture that we pay attention to him at all.
This is New York. We pay attention. This country is full of people who are not Trump fans. They don't live like Donald Trump. They don't live in New York. They live in fact, the majority of people in this country think New York is some sort of a freaky place, which I think it is, although I live here. It is a freaky place, and no more representative of this country than anything else. I mean, then the Statue of Liberty is representative, but it just is certainly not America.
Well, I'm pretty sure that, not speaking for my party, but if there was a Trump-Palin ticket, Democrats would be very happy.
Oh, I'm sure they would be. The thing is if you are actually serious about running for president, but yet so defensive and yet so reluctant to having both sides of your story being told, then you don't stand a chance.
Well, yeah, the only thing about him is it's a little bit different, because I know he's that way, and I'm not surprised to hear about that phone call.
The scrutiny that you go under running for president is unlike any other experience you could possibly be faced with in life.
The man isn't thoughtful. He's not measured. He's not educated as a statesman in any way. I mean, he throws around that he went to the Wharton School of Finance. That's fine for business, but nobody said a businessman made a good president. I mean,
wouldn't Mitt Romney
George
have been
Bush was
elected?
a businessman. Both the Bushes were businessmen, and I don't think the last time around we can say that made a great presidency. So I don't think any of that has anything. I mean, nothing he says is in any way reflective of a man with great character and great integrity, which is what we want to represent America.
Well, and on a side note, I just want to tell a quick story. One of our producers, as I told you, went to the Trump Tower to interview him, and so he sat down and did the interview, and she asked him certain questions that could potentially come up if he were to run for president, such as his company's filing for bankruptcy. He stopped her right then and there. He said, first of all, I never filed for bankruptcy. And she said, but you're the CEO. You've got your name on every single building that you build, so wouldn't you be held accountable? So you took a bailout, essentially. He said, no, I didn't. My companies did. So he stood firm on that, and then he kicked her out. And then they ran into each other in the elevator, and he was like hissing at her, literally hissing at her, and then called the security guard and had her escorted out of the building.
He's a cheesy guy with nothing to say.
Because he didn't like her questions.
He repeats himself over and over and over in every interview. He never shows any knowledge of what's going on. Okay, you want to be president? Let's talk about the health plan. Let's talk about the budget instead of making these silly generalizations that anybody could make.
But you see, the way that you would look at that and say that, how many interviews in a row is he going to say exactly the same thing? Because he only knows so much. That's why he does it.
We got to wrap.
That's right.
But I'm glad we finally got to get onto that topic. So thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.
This was a really exciting hour, actually. I think I started tearing from laughing so hard at one point. I don't even know at what point that was, but it was a great hour. Eric Yaverbaum and Liz Trotta, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
This was fun. And thank you, too, for tuning in. I hope we entertained you.